Hello, friends, and welcome to What the Fringe, the podcast dedicated to all things Fringe theater. I'm your host, Lauren Hanson. Each week, I visit with a Fringe artist to hear all about their endeavors and gain insight into their process. This week, I'm visiting with Tymisha Harris of A Cabaret of Legends and Josephine. Legendary songs from the collections of legendary artists and the stories behind them, starring international award-winning vocalist, performer, and aspiring legend Tymisha Harris, sings us through the generations of some of the most iconic performers of the last 100 years, highlighting Black female excellence as she shares stories of these legends and their impact on her personal journey. Tymisha has spent decades performing as a Tina Turner impersonator and tribute artist, and won dozens of awards for her portrayal of Josephine Baker in the off-Broadway and international hit show Josephine. In this new, surprisingly personal cabaret, Tymisha honors the legends who influenced her and sings some of the most impactful songs from throughout her career. Today's episode delves into the topic of domestic violence. If this is not something that is for you at this time, please feel free to let this time pass, and we will catch you next week.
Right now, we're trying to get Josephine. We've got a new booking agent that we're working with and getting into even more performing arts centers and larger things. So, sky's the limit. It's almost our 10-year mark, and this is kind of where I wanted to be at this point, was being able to get it out so that other women of color had this opportunity. There's not very many solo shows that women of color get. Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill. There's a few plays that you can possibly do, but having another type of musical for that multi-talented performer, I would love for this to be in the history books of theater.
Tymisha Harris is an internationally successful award-winning performer, creator, and producer of live theatrical productions, concerts, cabarets, and performing arts events. Her career started in Orlando by working as a choreographer and backup dancer for pop groups, including NSYNC and LFO. She went on to perform multiple roles at Universal Studios Orlando and a featured role in the hit movie series Bring It On. More recent endeavors include the national tour of Rock of Ages, a European tour with the innovative and world-renowned Palabolis Dance Theater Company, and founding member, director, choreographer of the successful Orlando-based troupe Varieties. Since 2016, she has been touring the world playing Josephine Baker in her solo show Josephine, a burlesque cabaret dream play. For her performance, she has received 10 awards for outstanding performance and was nominated for a Vivian Robinson AU DELCO Award for her 2018 off-Broadway run at Soho Playhouse in New York City. For her performance as Billie Holiday in 2023's Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill at the Orlando Shakespeare Theater, she was awarded the Critics' Pick for Leading Actor in a Musical by the Orlando Sentinel. She has recently begun touring her new cabaret, A Cabaret of Legends, across North America to rave reviews, sold-out houses, and 5 awards, including 2 Best of Fests so far. Tymisha, welcome to What the Fringe!
Thank you for having me. Hi. Hi, everybody. Hi, Lauren. Wow. Gosh, hearing my bio back is so... I feel like I did stuff.
You did so much stuff. You're amazing. This is why you're here. Almost every performer hates hearing their bio read because, you have to write it and all of that good stuff.
Me. Did I tell you about me? Did I talk about me? Let me put more of me in there. Remember that thing? Yeah, me.
That's great. Well, I love reading it and I love hearing about you. I celebrate you. You've had quite a career. Well, we got connected because we're both going to be performing at the Edmonton Fringe together. So I always check out who's going to be performing. I try to find people. As many people know, I stalk people online, but very innocent stalking, which is just finding your Instagram, looking at people's pages. And I saw your work and I was like, this chick is cool. I need to have her on the program. And so thankfully you said yes. And here we are.
You caught me on a good month. I was at home doing nothing.
In between gigs.
In between gigs,
Tis the life. So let's talk a little bit about your journey as an artist. You do lots of things. You dance, you sing, you direct. I mean, you're just all of the things. Impersonations. So what kind of got you into the style of cabaret performances? Because it does incorporate so much of that you're so gifted at.
Gosh, it was kind of unexpected. I was very shy of doing cabarets because I just didn't want, I didn't think that people wanted to just see me up there doing stuff. It took me a while to get that in my head. And as I did all these other homages to these other performers and these other women and different shows, I realized that I started to hear that more people did want to hear about my story and how things pertained to my career and my trajectory. And it just sort of slowly came about. Okay, well, I've done these songs. These are great standards. Oh, well, I can sing about Tina. Oh, we'll put this in there. Let's do that. And just kind of morphed it together without really knowing what I was getting myself into.
Well, when did you realize that you had a knack for impersonations? Because like your show has so much of that, and you've done Tina Turner and so many people. Like, yeah, how did you figure that out?
I don't even know. I still go up there trying to figure out the essence of what that performer gave to me and how I can transfer that to the audience. Right? I feel like I'm not trying to, I gotta be Tina or Josephine or anybody. There's not that many people that remember what Josephine even brought to the stage, but reading the books, hearing the stories, hearing people talk about the way Josephine could reach out to people from the stage throughout my career, I understand what that feels like. I'm trying to reach the people in the back of the house, not just the ones in the front. And I understand, I guess, how to open myself up in that way. And so it's kind of the essence of these stars and these legends that I connected with and figured out, there's a path, there's a way I can keep uplifting that without feeling like I'm impersonating that person only. And I love my drag community. However, I know I fit in a different category of not just being in drag, because I'm not necessarily impersonating Beyonce, if you will. I'm bringing you another style of star. It did take me a while to figure out how to put that in cabaret form.
Well, I love, though, that you focus on like the essence of the person, not just, this is my ignorance on what impersonators do, right? But I would assume that a lot of people try to tap into that, but sometimes it can feel, I'm not picking on anybody in particular, but like a caricature, right? Like you don't want to be a caricature of someone and do the voice and do the movement.
Like you're putting on this specific mask and here it is, and now I've got to do these movements, and this is what is expected. And being in the impersonator business for a while, I have seen that in some folks, and it is easy to boom, click, ha ha ha, and that can be easy. But I honestly don't have those particular kind of characters that I can fall in. Most Black women or folks like that are pretty loud, are pretty boisterous and have some sort of essence. And so it's where I had to fill in and fit in, because I don't look like these people, but boy, I'll give you the show.
Yeah. Well, and I think it is when you see a performer who invests that realism, like is what you're talking about. You're investing in the essence. We can very much let go of the visual, or you become that person because of the soul, that you've like put into it.
The soul, the heart that we put in. Yeah, I love that. That really makes sense. Every show that I ever step into is always a new show, and it's a unique show, whether it be an impersonation or on dance show or whatever. It's a unique show for that particular audience that day, that time. We're in this now. If I mess up, we messed up.
I haven't seen the show yet, so I'm excited to see your show in Edmonton. But do you do a lot of crowd work, or is it more just like we're sitting and enjoying?
It's a little loose. I don't do a lot of crowd work, but there is some sort of, I do have crowd participation. Like I play with the audience a little bit. And then after I finish my first song, I'll ask them, all right, do we know who the first lady of song is? And some people have no clue. Some people are like, and some people will yell out a name, and I'll just have fun with that. So it's kind of loosely based audience participation, but it's nothing crazy.
It doesn't like direct the version of how that show is going, but definitely we feed off. I mean, as any performer, we feed off what the audience is giving. They feed off what you're giving.
Yes. I like to break down the barrier and let folks feel at ease a little bit. And, you know, some people get real shy and real tense, and then I'm just as goofy as they are, and I'll just let them know that right off the bat.
I can't wait to see your show. Okay, we talked a little bit about the heart and soul, so let's talk a little bit about vocally. Like, what have you done to kind of get into the sounds of these people? I know it's not probably an exact replica because you are a human being and they are human beings. How do you prepare vocally for all of these different people that you're playing?
Most of the people that I play have a certain inflection in maybe their sound. Maybe it's a tonality, or maybe, I don't know if that's the right word, because, for instance, when I do Billie Holiday, when I would listen to videos of her speaking versus her singing voice and reading about what she would do with her singing voice, and when she first started out, she would have to go to different tables in the club and sing the same song to all these different tables. But she would never sing it the same way, so they were always hearing something new and something different. So the way that she would play with her voice, I was like, okay, I could do those things. And as I listened to her pronounce things, or where she would set vowels and tones in some of that in her mouth, I think I pay attention to those instances from the artists. When I do Josephine, I am an alto. And she was more of a soprano with a very vibrato, right? An intense vibrato. And I can utilize the vibrato, but I am a nice, rich... I'm not trying to impersonate Josephine. I want people to go in and be touched and do their own research, fall in love with them herself. I understand that I might be a vessel for that, and that attracts. And so I guess that's in stardom, that's that weird artist thing that I'm just like, gosh, but it's still not me. But being that vessel so that they can go home and fall in love and find their own pathway to those artists is kind of key to what I'm doing.
It's really beautiful and really special. And it seems like a very giving thing that you're doing of yourself, you know, to invite people into the worlds of these beautiful artists that, you know, they may not know if people aren't tapped into music outside of the last decade, or, you know, of the decades they've been alive.
Some people didn't get that, have a house full of records playing. Some people got little things, and I've heard that a lot with this particular show. I didn't know this much about this artist, or I didn't know about that and such. And so opening that up in, you know, the little hour that I get is really amazing, because I can't wait to extend it to places so that I can have a band and we can go almost 2 hours. We can go further, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Well, so we've got the hour-long format, right, which is Fringe. How did you determine that Fringe was kind of where you wanted to start presenting this type of work?
Oh, I took a chance. Back in the day when Michael and his friend Todd, we were talking, Michael was like, you need a show. You need something. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because I had always been an ensemble member and part of the cast, and let's make the show great. If I'm in the show's great, right? Let's do this. And I got to the point, I guess, that I needed something that to prove that I can do it on my own, or just a different point of view of presenting myself in the forefront. And took a shot, created this little show, Josephine, and we took it to the San Diego Fringe first. I think it was maybe their fifth year, somewhere in there. It was like wildfire. We started off with maybe 14, 16 people, and then ended up overselling it almost 200 tickets. And then it just, oh my gosh, we have something. We have a thing that people want, that people are looking forward to seeing. Like, it caught on like wildfire, and it was just the right moment, the right product, it was yes, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And realizing that the Fringe had such a large network, if you will, around the world, it was a no-brainer of, oh, we can apply, get to a festival, be in this place for a week, 2 weeks, whatever it may be, a month maybe, and get your own work out there and your own product. Huh. What have I been doing with my life? And Michael had already had so much knowledge of the Fringe festivals to begin with. He was able to utilize that and flex that muscle and get us into spaces and put us in the right spots that folks were really hungry for. And it's interesting that a lot of that came outside of America first. San Diego was one thing, but once we went to Canada and other places, it was amazing. Great growth.
That's beautiful too. And I love that you said you were like, wait, I can do my own work, because it is. There's something that you're pouring your heart and soul into. That's what I love about Fringe, is because it's all the artists and their work. I love Fringe so much, and I geek out about it because everybody's putting their heart and soul out there in the work that they're doing.
Every time I'm on the street and I'm telling somebody that has lived in their city for a while and doesn't know about their Fringe festival, and I'm all, oh, well, let me tell you. Because it could be good. It could be great. It could be weak. It could be terrible. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not controlled by some higher other entity. It's not controlled by Broadway. It's controlled by you, us, the people, the community. And it only builds. There's artists everywhere, whether it's visual arts or dance theater, whatever. There's artists everywhere that can express themselves in a Fringe festival, no matter what. Where else can you go and practice your show and get paid for that practice?
Doesn't happen everywhere.
And if you look at it like that, well, it's a workshop. A workshop for putting this show further on. Break even. Cool. It's a great little start. So I am a cheerleader with you to the end. We should have our own Fringe commercial.
Can we wear cheerleading costumes?
We'll do the Will Ferrell and the Sherry O'Terry, the cheerleaders from Saturday Night Live.
The Spartans. Let's talk a little bit about Josephine, and then we'll talk about a Cabaret of Legends. So what drew you to Josephine Baker?
Honestly, at the time, I wasn't really sure. But what drew us there was politically, 2015, we were starting to elect somebody that I did not align with. Someone that I knew did not care about me, people that I care about, and that the country was turning into an ugly place. And then we were thinking about doing a show about Tina Turner. And then somebody jumped up and was like, well, what about Josephine? And as we started reading her history and reading more books about her, it was mind-blowing that we were repeating some of the same things that she went through. It was just the parallels. Maybe we can sneak some of this in to the psyche of people if they see this show, that we're doomed to repeat the history if we don't pay attention, which was my sinister plan of trying to help the human psyche figure out, I don't know if that's the right way to go. She was such a powerful person in her own timeline. Like, she did so many things to help out so many people and just wanted to be accepted no matter her skin tone. And that was always what the wrong people see first and try to make it a point. And you're just like, wow, we're still there. And I guess I was fed up. I was like, we are still there. Let's do the show. Let's continue to open up her story and keep her legacy and keep her story going as much as possible.
Thank you for taking that on.
You're welcome. It's heavy over here.
That's heavy work. That's really heavy work. And people are loving it, which is very exciting.
It's kind of crazy how now it's kind of outgrown most Fringe festivals, and it's perfect for like a fundraiser and brings people together. They can dress up and have a night out on the town. It's one of my favorite things to bring to a city that maybe they've heard of it, but maybe not. But then to open it up to a big thing, it's super cool.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what are kind of the opportunities that you're getting now beyond Fringe with this show? So, like you said, galas and some other things.
The last big thing we did, we were at the Pittsburgh Fringe, and we were workshopping Cabaret of Legends at Mr. Robato's punk project.
Little tiny space.
Tiny space, a little bitty guy. And at the end, we were doing a fundraiser for the Fringe and just the arts in general. And it ended up being at the first Carnegie Hall, like the very first Carnegie Hall that would have been in Pittsburgh. Beautiful, epic building. And to find out that it was the first original Carnegie Hall, I felt so timeless. Everything about the show was right. The building, and it was cool, and it was lovely. And it just, something about the power of the show elevates people to feeling inspired and hopeful. And right now we're trying to get Josephine. We've got a new booking agent that we're working with and getting into even more performing arts centers and larger things. So, sky's the limit. It's almost our 10-year mark. And this is kind of where I wanted to be at this point, was being able to get it out so that other women of color had this opportunity. There's not very many solo shows that women of color get. Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill. There's a few plays that you can possibly do, but having another type of musical for that multi-talented performer, I would love for this to be in the history books of theater.
Well, I think it has the potential. It's a show that I think would sell well, in people's seasons, right? Because, the pictures alone are very sexy. They're intriguing. They're gorgeous. They're sparkly. You've done such beautiful work there. And it just seems like a show that would be easy to program in a lot of places when you get outside of Fringe, right? Because now we got to look at ticket sales. We got to look at, what's this going to do? What's this going to bring in? Who's it going to bring in? And would be one of those shows that would do that. So then do you have hopes for other ladies to do this show, like to publish it maybe at some point?
I do. I really do. Back during COVID, once we had just gotten off Broadway and had some New York connections and some things, and then there was a lady that was looking to do it, but then COVID hit. We're like, sure, we'll get back to you. And then most recently, there was another young lady, I forgot what city, and she was like very interested in that idea. I want to say it might have been Cincinnati. And it really got my wheels turning again of, it's still there. It's still out there.
That's so exciting. Okay, so now let's talk about Cabaret of Legends, which is your new show. So tell me who's in it, and it's kind of interspersed with some of your own stories. So we've got some of your story and stories of other legends. How does it all work together?
I feel like I start off with a little bit of class, and then I bring you some sass, and then I get personal. I get political, not too political, but I let people know that as a sensitive, wee little artist, I don't have a loud platform. And this is my platform. The stage is my platform to help connect some of these dots, maybe. And to let them know when I get personal, it's like sometimes you hear about a problem and it's very far away from you. You don't see it. And I kind of want to break that barrier and let people know that, well, it's actually a little closer than you think. And it's probably not the same idea that you have. It's not everybody's the same. Not everybody goes through it the same and comes out the other side. But how we react as a human to that person, how we are trying to be helpful, maybe this could click. Maybe this could help with some of that.
You're like my kind of person. I just feel like, just as I'm talking to you, because we just met just a few minutes ago before we went on air, and just how giving you are, and how it just is the feeling that I get from you, and you want that connection. You want to make a difference and an impact in this world, and not for yourself, is what it feels like. As actors, we always have that, right? That's just part of our DNA. Like we can't not have some kind of vibrato. But I mean, everything that I hear just coming out of you is this beautiful flow of giving. And that's really, really beautiful. So I'm very excited to see this show and how that all works together.
The show is really fun. You know, some cities we've had some technical difficulties and figuring out the placement of things, but I feel like taking folks on the ride, how we all started, you know, the class that Ella Fitzgerald brings and but Billie Holiday brings that pain. Nina Simone brings that struggle, that triumph, that you better hear me now. You have to hear what's happening right now. Into a little bit of pain, a little bit of hurt. I started talking to someone about my past. And then I sing about hope that is life, right? The hope that the rest of us are here, that are still hoping we get through this. I sing a song about that. And then I give you a little bit of a little palate cleanse with a little Tina Turner, and then kind of up it and bring it home with Beyonce. It was weird how to figure out how to get it together and the costumes and such, making the costumes kind of work and switch within it. As that artist, I'm like, I'm doing too much. This is not enough. This is all in that. And then I was in Indianapolis, and a lady who's a costumer doing all costumes, she goes, oh, I loved your costumes. That was like, okay, I could take a little deeper breath and not have to stress about if that was making sense, because if a costumer gets it, I did something and I am on my way.
Oh, so you share some of your personal story in this. What led you to do that? And if you want to share, however much you want to share of that journey.
I was born in El Paso, Texas, right? And as I was growing up, whenever about 5 or 6, almost 5.5, my mother was killed in a domestic violence incident. I was there. I was a part of it. It was, an interesting time. And then realizing that the women I was singing about and some of those connections of how powerful they were and some of the stories, how that made sense in my younger years, it just seemed like I had to kind of bring it to the forefront and let people know that it's not that far away from you. Right now, I think it's 4 out of 10 women of color receive domestic violence from a partner, from an intimate partner that they are close to. And that's still happening. And the women that we talk about in the show also, maybe famously or unfamously, suffered some sort of abuse from their partner. And I guess I just needed to let people know that it's not that far. You're not that far removed from this. Sure, it's glitz and glam and the TV or whatever, but there's a lot of pain. There's a lot that some people are hiding. Because how do you put some of that out there? How do you let people see? Like, there's this part in the show where I talk about seeing Diana Ross play Billie Holiday in Lady Sings the Blues. Remember seeing it as a kid and then watching that movie back as I was getting ready to do Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill. Seeing it back brought back all those feelings of, I was very unclear. I was very unsure because at the same time, all that was happening to my mother was happening to Billie Holiday. And so for me, at that time, Billie Holiday was just a sad, poor, helpless junkie who couldn't get it together. And maybe that's all Black women, right? But as I got older and I was raised by really strong Black women and a strong community that took me in, I was able to lift some of that mask. But then once I saw the movie again, I was able to process that a little differently and see how people were seeing them and how, the lens of the entertainment business is cloudy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for just sharing all of that. And it's very giving of you to incorporate that. into the show and help people to see that and bring awareness to that. I know that the show's not all about that by any means, would be my guess.
I guess I'm probably still finding some of my wording about it and getting into it, but I let myself be vulnerable and open, and here it is. And I don't want to win sympathy. I'm not trying to throw that card out there and be like, I just want to let people know that some of these things are closer than we realize. ICE being outside, or just not listening to a friend when they're sad, if looking for people, if there's human traffickers, right? If people know what those signals are we looking for that? Are we keeping our eyes open, or are we shutting off to our phones, our blinders, and are we on and closed off to the rest of society? Because that's almost where America's at right now. Yeah, my pleasure, and offer a hug to anybody and love and support to anybody that's going through that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, we'll transition like you do in your show. We had some fun. We got serious. And now let's head to my last ending question, hopefully to bring us in that full circle of emotions. You've done Fringe now for a while. What is your most interesting or awkward Fringe interaction that you've ever had? Or just one that you've had? I'm sure you have lots of fun stories.
With the Cabaret of Legends, we have really had to get used to the possibility of something messing up, like the tech or whatever have you. And one of the shows, right before the show, like I was still changing, we were in the back, and Michael comes in and he says, yeah, we don't have a projector, which is a key component. And then he's like, I don't know if some of the songs are going to play. Okay, sure. And we went through the whole show with some of them not playing and some on and some off or whatever. And then we get to the part where I do a big costume change. And I have a video come out on the microphone. Hey, we didn't talk about this part. Do you have any ideas? Can you come and figure this out? So he ran down from the tech booth, lip synced to the part, and then ran back up. And then I came out and I was like, yeah, I told you we were going to get something different.
It's Fringe, baby. This is what we do.
It's Fringe, baby. Get into it.
We're not stopping the show.
This is what you're getting. And you're going to love it. You're going to tell your friends. We've had some really interesting things, but that was probably the most recent with this particular show of like, huh? You know, the microphone cords coming out completely. What are you talking? Oh, okay. Mr. Roboto, that was funny, Mr. Roboto. And then that happened at Tampa. And then I think the projector was in Portland. This show has definitely brought some hijinks. And definitely, you better go with the flow, baby. What, you got a problem? This is Fringe. Keep it moving.
Keep it moving. Here we go. This is what we're doing. Well, that's good. That's good that you take your work seriously, but you don't take yourself too seriously, right? Like you're like, I'm going to do my best out here and okay, here we go. This is what's happening. And that's just the best way to be.
Let's run. Let's go.
Let's do it.
We got one shot.
Oh my goodness. Well, Tymisha, it has been so much fun having you on the podcast today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for this. Thank you very much for asking and stalking, and I appreciate it. And I'm grateful. I can't wait to meet you in person.
Likewise. A Cabaret of Legends will be touring 4 Canadian Fringe festivals this August and September. It's going to be a Calgary Fringe, one night only in Saskatoon, Edmonton Fringe, and Vancouver Fringe. And Josephine will play in Katina, Sicily in October. So you can follow Dynamite Lunchbox Entertainment, which puts on all of these lovely shows on Instagram at Josephine the Play or Dynamite Lunchbox, and on Facebook at Josephine the Play, and find links to ticket sales and social media and their LinkTree at Dynamite Lunchbox. Now, if you need assistance with domestic violence, please reach out in the United States. We hope it's still running, the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And there is also RAIN. There's going to be links in the show notes. If you're in Canada, we've got Ending Violence Association of Canada or domesticshelters.org. And in the UK, we've got the Survivors Trust and the National Domestic Abuse Hotline. Again, those will be linked in the show notes. What the Fringe is produced and hosted by me, Lauren Hantz. This episode was edited by Ben Ellis of Renown Media, and those sweet tunes you hear are provided by Paul Snyder of Orchestra of Sound, and our logo was designed by Ruby Arnold of Ruby Makes Things. What the Fringe can be found on your favorite podcast platforms and now on YouTube. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay in the know when new episodes release. Keep up with What the Fringe on Instagram at whatthefringe_productions and find us online at whatthefringeproductions.com. So I'm from Houston and we love our hometown heroes, and I try to channel that energy, like wherever I go. So it's closing night of the Fringe and I'm going to be at that party and I am going to be channeling some big energy. And
I'm not necessarily impersonating Beyonce, if you will. I'm bringing you another style of star.
Oh my gosh, who am I kidding? I'm totally channeling Beyonce.